I am live out here in these streets. All right, let's jump right into it. So, what happened was MJ, the homie, reached out to me yesterday, day before yesterday, Wednesday, something like that. And she was interested in the Ecoflow Delta Mini, and she asked my opinion of it. So I went through this whole process of trying to figure out if the Mini was a good deal or not. And I basically kind of jumped in feet first, like how I would analyze the situation, because of course I value my coins. I know a lot of y'all value your coins. So I wanted to help her get like the best deal. So I was curious about whether or not it was a good look. So how I basically want to take you through a little bit of my train of thought as to how I arrived at the deal that she ultimately took advantage of, which was a different Ecoflow Delta product. So the Ecoflow Delta Mini is one that has been around for a good little bit. It was an interesting device when it first came out, very compelling, very interesting, and kind of affordable way to get. What do you need, man? Just talk to me. You don't need to come all the way over here. Just talk. No, go back upstairs until the time I told you. Thank you. What's up, Nathan? So, it was an interesting device. It was a very affordable way to get a very capable inverter, which was something that was kind of like hard to come by in those times. I think it has a 1400 watt inverter or 1200 watt inverter. Let me fact check that. uh, I can't do that quickly. I got so many tabs going on around here. You open Firefox and see if it's in here. So it was 479, 800 some odd watt hours. I got the Amazon tab up. And I think it could take in 300 watts of solar. Why I gotta guess? I don't gotta guess. Let me see here. Because what I did was me and her were working through the process. And, my brain can kind of be a little bit all over the place. So after we like talked about everything, I had sent her like a quick just write up of product name, price, inverter, solar power in, and watt hour capacity and where it was available. So the Delta Mini was definitely it was $480 on Amazon. I don't know if it's still that price, but it's a 1400 watt inverter and an 882 watt hour capacity with 300 watts of solar. So I went poking around and she actually came across the Delta 1300. Now, I don't know if this is the OG Delta. I kind of tend to lean that way because of the watt hour capacity, but this one was a grand. It was like 1099 and it had a $200 watt, a $200 watt, a $200 coupon on it. And she was like, well, maybe if I jump up to that one, I'll have more watt hour capacity. What do you think about that? And I started looking at it and I was like, I mean, it's more watt hour capacity, but ultimately what it was is it was a situation where the money that you would pay was only like like $100 less than getting the Delta 2, which is LiFePO. And all of the devices that we kind of were looking at were lithium ion, just to be clear. So I was like, I'm not really feeling that one. Let me see what Costco has going on. So I jumped on Costco's website. No, Sam's Club. Costco didn't have anything. I jumped on Sam's Club's website and they had the EcoFlow Delta 1000, which is not a very like known device. I don't know where that device came. She actually said it was released in 2019. But this one was 400 watts of solar, which was a good look. It was a 1600 watt inverter, so 200 watts more than the 1400 watts. 1400 watts is a little interesting. It's super capable, but it's like, man, if I could get it a little bit higher, 1800 watts is obviously the kind of one you want to aim for. In my opinion, I don't know. I don't know what that's based on because I don't have nothing that uses 1800 watts on surge. But this one was $570 with a 1600 watt inverter 400 watts of solar, and it was a 1,008 watt hours. So for $100 more, you get 200 more watt hours. You get 200 more watt capacity on the inverter, and it only jumped up. And you get 100 more watts of solar input, 300, and you get 400 instead of 300. So I was like, MJ, I think this is the way to go. And then she was like, all right, let me swirl on it and process it. I was like, cool. So then I typed up the whole joint, like a quick little blip, and I shot it over to her just to have it in one place. Because I know with me, sometimes when I'm researching something, you find out those details, and then those details you tend to forget. So I have a note, I have a habit of just taking notes, so I can always go back to my notes to compare instead of going into these pages. Because in these pages, all of the information is not always blatantly there. Usually it is, but you got to kind of hunt for it on Amazon. It might be in the top, and then you might have to scroll down to see what it is. Now, one thing we didn't really factor in this situation was volts, but I think they all pretty much have like the 65-volt input limit, which is what it is, which is fine for those watt, for that solar watt input. So $570. It's lithium ion. I have really been kind of seeing the benefits of lithium ion lately, because one, the cycles are going up. I've seen cycles. My light is flickering, not visually, but I can hear it audibly. These cycles are getting up to 800, sometimes 1,000. I've even seen something as high as 1,500 cycles. Now, we know LiFePO is 3,500, 3,000, 2,500. But in the grand scheme of things, I am not complaining, but that's almost too many cycles. I know there's no such thing as too many cycles, but just in terms of the life of the device, I have had this thought many times, like 3,000 almost feels like too much. It's like if you could get like 2,000, 1,500, you think about that when they talk about, 3,000 cycles. If you cycle it every day, that's 10 years. So 3,000, you can get 1,500 cycles. You could cycle that thing every day for 5 years. That's nothing to sneeze at, or whatever the saying is. I don't know. So it's also, I don't know if I mentioned this, lithium ion is also lighter. There's usually more power density or whatever it is, which is why it has the ability to be lighter. It doesn't take as many batteries to get to that watt hour capacity. One thing that I've also noticed is the temperature threshold. I live in a somewhat cold environment, nothing crazy. I'm in Pennsylvania. The temperature threshold is 10 degrees more than LiFePO. LiFePO is typically like you can charge it at about 0 degrees Celsius, which is about 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Lithium ion, you can charge it at negative 10 degrees Celsius. And I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I just live off of Celsius as it relates to computers and these power stations because it's just easier. So lithium ion to me is not a chemistry that's dead. Now, one thing that I often never think about is the fact that, lithium ion is more volatile. But when you're sticking with these major players or these bigger companies, stuff could happen to the battery capacity, but it usually doesn't. They say LiPo is safer, and it doesn't have that whatever joint where it could catch on fire and all that jazz. Although we did see, if you saw it, Projects in Paradise 808, he had a friend of his that his Battleborn batteries had a catastrophic failure, and he said it like 30 times. He said it so many times I thought about a drinking game. I don't drink, but that's just what it made me think about. But that stuff was interesting to see, those batteries kind of like I think a cell may have gone bad and like either not exploded, but maybe it popped or something. I don't know what happened. I don't recall the details. So that was an interesting deal. That deal is, I mean, you got $600 to spend. There's not, I don't know if there's many options, but there are some other options one could consider. But to get that watt hour capacity, which is decent, it's like 1,008 not crazy or anything like that. And you have the 400 watts of solar, which is cool. And then you have the 1600-watt inverter, which for a person trying to make sure that they have the ability to make sure that their core things are able to run, 1600 watts does seem like a good look. I mean, the biggest we have outside of those monsters in the AC300 and the AC500, maybe like what? The Delta, most of the normal power stations, they have 2 kilowatt inverters. So you're missing out on about 400 watts. I think 1800 watts is the sweet spot, as I said earlier. Let me see what y'all snapping and trapping about. Hey out there. What's up, Henry? I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing okay. A standard refrigerator is about 1200 watts to cycle through, then drops down. Oh, that's good to know. So 1200 watts, she got like a bit of a cushion. I have the Ecoflow. Oh, okay, nice. All right. Hey, MJ. I have the Ecoflow Delta 1000. I bought it last year on sale from Amazon, $7.99. You'd love it. I have two 200-watt rich solar panels connected in series. 570 is a good deal. Yeah, I think so. I appreciate that cosign. What's up, Mose? I saw a video on Jason Noy's channel where his lithium-ion battery exploded. It kept exploding over and over again. Yeah, that was crazy. That convinced me to switch over to LiPo. The other one isn't worth it to me. I dig it. I understand that. I had some of those same thoughts. I still have some of those same thoughts. But I think that situation with that battery it wasn't regulated very well. I think it was like a bit of a interesting company. I mean, it wasn't like I don't think it was like I don't know who Iceco. Who are the people that make refrigerators? I don't know. There's like Iceco, and then there's like another one. But yeah, I listen. I feel you. I had some of those same fears and thoughts. Like, man, I need to get rid of all of my lithium ion power stations, and I still kind of want to do that. But as I've been using my solar panels and maximizing, hold on one second. What?
So now that me and Sally and Ivan are away, can we come
No.
down?
Ivan just asked me the same question. No, stop coming downstairs with these questions. It's nap time. It's quiet time. Go upstairs and hang out until the time that I told you.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel you on the lithium ion. I listen. I still use my OG Ecoflow. I don't really have any expectation of that thing failing. I don't. Now some of these other off-brand power stations, I think about it. I certainly think about it. That's for sure. Let's see. The only downfall of the Ecoflow 1000 is it doesn't have the capability of connecting to the app. Oh, really? That's the one thing I was trying to figure out, and I didn't see anything about that. It's a nice to have in my situation, but I don't know what MJ's situation is if she needed the app. The app connectivity would have been cool, though. Just cool, I guess. I like having it. I have some power stations that don't have it, and as the channel continues to grow, and as I get more power stations that have the app connectivity, that's going to be cool. Quick deviation. My AC200P has 600 watts of solar, laying flat, typically gets about 400 watts. That's a little low, I guess. 600, 60, 61, 25, 480. So it's about, but it is laying just perfectly flat. It's not angled at anything. And the sun is not quite high in the sky. It's getting there, but it's not quite high in the sky. That one, typically, because it charges up the fastest, it typically has the most watt hour capacity at the end of the day. And I'm typically putting my fridge on that one. So what came to mind, because I don't have app connectivity to see when the device dies, I had this brilliant idea to put one of my Wi-Fi switches on there. Let me show you. I have 4 of these. I still need to make the Ecoflow video that makes use of this. Some of you guys have Wi-Fi smart switches. I know JC DIY has one. I used one of these and I had the wonderful idea to plug this into the power station so that I know when the AC dies. So then my phone will alert me and tell me that that device is going offline. So then I know my AC 200p ran out of power. I need to go down there and unplug my fridge and plug it either into another power station or plug it into the wall. So that was like, that's pretty cool. I actually have a light, it's the basement light, on a switch down there so that I can keep it on throughout most of the day so that my wife doesn't use bigger lights down there, because we have some they're not halogen lights. What are the tube lights? I don't know what chemistry that is or what brand that is. We have some tube lights down there. They use a lot of power. We also have a light switch down there that has three. They're LED bulbs in there, but there's still three of them, and you don't need all three of those. So I just put like a little light stand down there, and I put just a lamp, a bulb in there. So I typically have that on running most of the day. And then at night, once we go to bed, I can just turn it off. One thing I don't like about these switches is they don't have the ability to put a timer. You can schedule them, but I would love to be able to say, hey, stay on for another hour or two. But that feature is not built into these, sadly. That would have been really cool. So that alerts me. But if I had a power station down there that had app connectivity, specifically Wi-Fi, Bluetooth is okay. Bluetooth kind of works okay between like one floor, but probably not two. That would be cool because then I could kind of monitor it and go down there and be a little proactive. Sometimes I have fallen asleep and forgotten to unplug the fridge from the power station, which sucks on my part, which is why I want to get a DC fridge, because all she does is use that mini fridge as a freezer. We have it set to the coldest setting, so everything in the fridge freezes. And all we really have down in there is some elderberry juice. She may have like some mini pizzas down there from time to time, but we just store like extra elderberry juice down there. But anyway, let me see what I missed here. I want to get started with solar, but I don't know where to begin. Henry, is that Smith? That's interesting spelling. Let me just grab it. I have a PlayStation, a playlist for beginners. Where can I grab that from? I'm gonna post it right here in the chat. You should start there, watch those videos, and I feel like you'd be on a good path to kind of understanding what's what as it relates to getting started in solar. Playlist of content. Podcast. It's a new feature YouTube added. Let's see. I have a bunch of playlists. Some are facing you guys and some are not. Portable power for beginners. Get a shareable link. Drop said shareable link, and boom. Daddy has spoken. Yes, he has. What's up, my man? How you feeling today? I'm doing just fine. Just fine. It's funny because when people ask me that, I'm kind of built to really answer. I don't just give the normal platitudes. So you could definitely walk into a serious conversation with me one day, asking me how I'm doing. Hey, Delgado. I'm glad you caught the live too. Okay. Have you heard of the AC 180? I hope it comes to the States. If the EB3A and the AC 200P had a baby. Oh, interesting. The AC 180 would. That's interesting. I actually saw a comment in Hobotech's group. Somebody had asked him if he was going to get that one, I believe. And Hobotech can be a little snarky in his responses, sadly. But he was like, yeah, I noticed that. Let me see if I saved the post. Un momento, por favor. Book of Faces. Groups. Actually, let's go to saved. Let's not go search for it. Because I think I would have saved that one because I found that his comment very interesting. But he essentially said that that's a Max Oak product, and Max Oak doesn't make products for the States. Yeah, this is it. Let's see. Y'all let me know if I read snark into this. I'm gonna share it so you can see it. Let's see here. Present. Share screen. Entire screen. Screen 2. Pop it up without my face. So I can't quite zoom in. But somebody said, I saw a review video for blah, 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 blah. Looks promising. The video is in German. Whatever, whatever. And you can see y'all realize that if it's released there first, then it's very likely a Max Oak EU only product. I'm just like, y'all realize is like, no, they don't realize. That's why people are asking. I don't know, man. I don't know. It is what it is. Let's see. I didn't watch the video of the AC180. It looks cool. I mean, I don't know what the specs are or anything, but as devices get smaller and more compact and more capable, or just the same capability but a little bit less, whatever, I'm intrigued by that. But it all comes down to price. BougeRV's kind of doing this blitz for this AC60 product. I've been watching reviews on it to kind of like gather my thoughts. I may do a review reaction video, sharing what I think about the device in and of itself. But my quick hot take on it, it's all dependent upon how much that thing costs when it comes out. I know I saw somebody say, I wish I had bought this instead of the EB3A. The EB3A was $209 when I purchased it. That one was 200 some odd watt hours. So it's a little bit less than $1 a watt. This one is 400 some odd watt hours. So I guess one could assume that it'll be 3 something. But because it has all of that capability to be expanded and all that, BougeRV might try to tax, which is they're starting to get on my nerves a little bit by pricing these things at $1 a watt for the Kickstarter and then bumping them up and then having them go on sale basically for the Kickstarter price, which I think is like weird because the Kickstarter price should not be $1 a watt. Like, who are we kidding here? You should not be selling something for the yeah, $1 a watt. What I was gonna say is their AC300 kind of goes on sale for $3,000. I'm like, that's what it should cost. Like, what? Nah, look, who am I? I don't know what these cats' profit margins is. I don't run a business. Well, I have run some side hustles and all that jazz, but I don't run something on that scale. What do I know? But I feel like $1 a watt has been the standard for a long time, and you're starting to get ahead of that because all the features built in. I'm not quite. I ain't on. Nah, I'm not. I'm not convinced. But that's the importance of being able to pay attention to sales, to watch trends, and to also pay attention to how much that thing comes out for a Kickstarter, and then weigh your options accordingly. Because getting a Kickstarter device, you do run a risk. A little bit less so with Ecoflow and BougeRV, but you do run a risk in having a device. But typically, unless it's a hardware issue, which will 9 times out of 10 be covered by warranty, anything you have an issue with can be upgraded with the software. So that's kind of why I'm like, yeah, I get a Kickstarter, but only if the Kickstarter is going to save you some serious coins. Like if it's just going to be 90 cents a watt, I'm just like, okay, that's unimpressive. Let's see. What's up, sir? These 2 bulbs are normally called fluorescent bulbs. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Eddie T, what's happening? Been a minute. Hey, 2%. Been a minute for you too. Oh yeah, those are emojis. They don't come through. I experience holotext snarkiness, but it's cool. Yeah, it's just this. I don't take offense to it. You know what I mean? It's just like I don't know if some YouTubers when they get bigger, they just get snarky. I don't know if it's as people get older they get snarky. I hope I love sarcasm, but playful sarcasm. I used to be a mean sarcasm person, like in high school and stuff like that, which I'm not. I don't want to, but I like to be funny with sarcasm. But it's like, man, people ask a question, just answer it. And if you get tired of answering it, just do a Q&A. And if you're tired of that, do a video. That was me. Oh, that was you that made the post? Really? Is that what you're trying to say, Mose? Oh, okay. Interesting. Let me see. I think that's what you're saying. That was you that made the post. That's really interesting if that was you that asked. Pretty cool, too. Small world. All right. Um, Black Plumber, what's happening? More like dismissive. That's why I don't describe this channel. I feel you. Yeah. Been on the move. That's what's up. Hopefully for good reason. Hope everything is okay. I need a new 2000 watt hour. Interesting. Oh, what's up, sleeper? A new 2000 watt hour. Let's see. Oh, you literally have been moving. I did not take that literally. Um, oh, frying fish, mac and cheese, and carrots. I ain't mad at that. I hope it was good. Uh, all right. The other thing that I came across. So after we were able to get MJ squared away, I was looking at Pecrons because that's what came to mind. Because Pecron has had some very interesting stuff going on lately, especially with sales. And I had been trying to get familiar with Pecron because I kind of like what they're doing with their pricing. They've been pricing their stuff really well, and I think that that's interesting. This monitor is filthy. I don't know why I decided to wipe it off just now, like a weirdo. My chair could be a little lower, but I ain't gonna do it anyway. All right, let me find the Pecron action. Where you at, Pecron action? And this was born out of the conversation with MJ as well. But you know, Pecron is a little bit, just a little bit off the beaten path. I feel like they've been around for a while. They're starting to put LFP in their power stations. I'm not crazy about that aviator plug because it's limiting in swap out kind of situations. So I'm not crazy about that. Me being the kind of person that has not even so many power stations, even when I only had the Ecoflow River and that EB55 came out, I had the EB70 as well. I was intrigued by the EB55 because it charged off of MC4 XT60. So that piqued my interest because having the Ecoflow River, just my base OG model, when that got full off of XT60 solar, then I could pop in the EB55. Another reason why uniformity is cool for me or useful for me is if I have an issue with one of these power stations and I need to pack it up and send it out, then I could just plug and swap something in and not, or if I need to take it all outside and test it for a video, I could just pop something right back in. Like right now, my Ecoflow River 2 Max is full-ish because it was super windy and we had lost power like a time or two, but just a blip, nothing crazy. And what I have just started to do is when I think I may lose power, even though we don't lose power a lot, I'm gonna start charging up the Ecoflow River, just throwing that on the power outlet. It's already on one of these switches, so I just turn the switch on and start charging it. And I'm also going to do that with my Ace Volt, which is right down here. I'm going to get that full up. And I think what I may start doing is I may just do something in each zone. So TV zone, work zone, and then basement, one of those power stations. All three of those power stations, all three of those zones will have one power station that will be charged up if I feel like there's a chance that I could lose power. And then I need to decide what I'm going to do upstairs, which may end up being like power dumping into the Big Blue because I've been kind of pulling that one up and putting it in my kids' room to run the fan. Since it's a 500 watt hour, it's relatively quiet and it doesn't beep when it dies, which are all important like caveats for me. I say all that to say what I was saying is that I like to have a connector type that I could kind of use with different power stations. Another thing is where those four ways came into good use for me. I had the one four way kind of burn up, but I still have my newer four way. I did pull it out of circulation, but that was only because I what I was doing with that one is I would charge the Duran and the EB120 kind of off of the same thing. So when the Duran got full, or if I was making a video with the Duran, I could pull it out and then pop my EB120 there. So I'm able to take in that 400 watts of solar during this particular time. But now my EB120 just stays in the garage on an all powers 200 watt panel. So because the Duran doesn't move much, I put its own MC4 to XT60 connector there, and then that's just a done deal. Yeah. So long way to say Pecron with its aviator plug nothing else around here has an aviator plug. And that's a reason why some power stations just never touch solar. Like the Sateki has a weird connector, so it's not on solar anymore. The SmartList has a weird connector. It's not on solar anymore. So that's important to me, which is why I was never a fan of Pecron. I mean, to the point where I just didn't pay attention to them. But they started putting LFP into these things. They started to actually put the MPPT charge controller inside the device. There was some early devices that didn't have a charge controller inside of it. It was external. It was weird. They had like all the little connector. It was a whole mess. But I've been really intrigued, and they have some devices that are on sale for very good prices if you're willing to take the risk. I know Gardening with Eve says she got a Pecron and she loves it. So let's do a thing. Let's do a thing here. Like the new Anchor 767. That thing is nice, but it has its limitations. I haven't taken the time to kind of take in its shortcomings, but it has some. I don't think it has 5521. And it also has that kind of weird solar situation where it takes those XT60 connectors, but it's a parallel focused connection. Give me 1 second. I feel like this may be the third one. Oh no, it's actually nap time is over. So all of the boys are probably on their way down. What's up? That wasn't so bad, right? Finishing out your time? Young man, I asked you a question. That's fair. It is a weird question, so I'll let that one go. Hold on, I'm doing a live stream. Give me a second. Go hang out with your brothers. I'll be done in a little bit, all right? Thank you. Bruh, let's go. What's happening? I appreciate that, man. I hope all is well with you and the missus. Or if that's the missus, I hope all is well with you and the hubby. So let's talk about these Pecrons, right? Very interesting devices. So I don't think this is the one that I caught my eye, but look at the price. Let's look at it like $900. You have, what is it capable of? Some of these specs are like crazy. So you have 2000 watt bidirectional inverter. Okay, that's typical. Where's the solar charging? 2000 watts of max solar input. No, I'm sorry. I take that back. That's solar and AC. I take that back. 900 watts of max solar and then 1100 watts of AC charging. This is like big boy specs right here. This is really interesting. 900 watts of solar for, what was this thing? $900. And what was the watt hour capacity on it? This is why I have to take notes, y'all. Because if I don't remember this stuff. It's too much stuff to keep track of. I'm pretty sure. Where's the watt hour capacity? Where is it? Jeez. Again, this is why I write stuff down. Did somebody see it? Am I missing something? Okay, let's go down here. Okay, it's 14. Hey, stop it. Both of you. I'm going to send y'all right back upstairs. You understand me?
Yes.
Saya, do you understand me? So 1450 watt hours, 2000 watt inverter, 900 watts of solar is lithium ion. lithium ion. So, tread carefully. But for $900, that's just one example. I'm not saying that that's the best example here, but it's the interesting stuff that Pecron is doing over there. This one is the S1500. It's not the looker, but it's 1500 watts, 1500 watt hours. I just rounded up. It's 1461, 450 watts of max solar input. It's a 15,000 watt inverter, also lithium ion. But let's look at this price. This is $600. That's interesting. If you wanted to take the risk, that's very interesting. Y'all are trying my patience. You really are. Okay, that's panels. So $600 for all of that. That's very interesting. I find that very compelling. Not incredibly compelling because that's lithium ion. I don't know if I would go lithium ion, slightly off the beaten path power station. But for $600, I don't know. Maybe you fancy something about the Pecrons because we're all different. We don't necessarily all like the same things. All of us, go back upstairs to mommy and daddy's room. Don't come downstairs until I tell you to come down. Go now. And if you wild out up there, I'm coming up and you're not going to like it. Let's see here. What's this one? Okay, this one is $549. Let's look at some specs here. So we have the ability to do 100 watts of solar on the 5521, which is kind of normal. Then you have the ability, you have to go series on their little interesting, I guess it's the GX16MF connector. But you could do 400 watts of solar there at a 15 amp max. What else we got here? 1200 watts of inverter, 614 watt hours of capacity. And then let's see what the price was. Okay, this one's not great. There's another one that is like $300 for, okay, this one's LifeBoat. Check this one out. $349, 614 watt hours, 1200 watt inverter, and it's LFP. Let's look at some specs on solar. 400 watts of solar max. It's the same as the other one. Okay. They cannot charge simultaneously. Okay, that would have been nice, but they can't. That's fine. Man, it's like this one is extremely compelling to me. This one is like better than the EB70. Actually, if I had to compare a device to the EB70, when I said a couple of streams ago, like, yeah, I wouldn't buy EB70 right now. And the reasons I gave were just the idea that, it came out at $499. And after all that, now it's going on sale for $499, like 18 to 12 months later. I'm pretty sure I think it's been out for at least 18 months. It's like, that doesn't move me. I'm not going to pay the price that it came out as for a device 18 months later. Like that's like, what are we doing here? That's me. I'm weird, you know what I mean? But I'm not a fan. But then you look at something like this, LFP 1200 watts, 614 watt hours with the ability to do 400 watts of solar. I mean, that's interesting to have that little capacity with that much solar, but we all have very interesting situations where this could be like a power dump monster, taking in 400 watts of solar, dumping into maybe what's the thing? What are the things? The batteries, the doctor prepares, the ampere time, a lifetime, the power queens or whatever, with a little 20 amp charger, which uses about 300 watt hours or 300 watts. You could power dump into that with that 400 watts of solar. Now think about it. The 400 watts of solar, which is something that I've always been talking about for the last few months, is pairing your solar with your power station appropriately. 400 watts of solar is going to produce over the duration of the day about 2 kilowatts of power. So you got to have enough capacity to actually take that solar in, Or your power station is just going to be full, which a lot of y'all are cool with full power stations. Y'all love it. I don't like full power stations. I want to have my power come in, and at every moment the sun is out, I want to be getting that power. That one is extremely compelling. $350 for that kind of stuff is that's just dope. I may actually try and email them to see if I can get that device. Since I'm such a lowly YouTuber, they may be willing to send me the $350 joint. I'm gonna have to look into that. This one is probably not as interesting as the E1500. It doesn't have LFP in the title, so it's not LifePo, but $900. Let's see what it's hitting for. It's a 2000 watt inverter. Very similar. I may have gone over this one already. Did I go over this one already? E1500 Pro. E1500 Pro. Yeah, I did. That's a dupe. All right. Let me see what y'all think about these Pecron deals. Let's see. And you were so helpful. I can't thank you enough. You're welcome. It was my pleasure to help. The Randa. Let's see. Hey, can you go get Saya and let him know he can come back downstairs now? Thank you. That Anchor has a low max voltage for input. I think it's either 60 or 75. 75 is manageable if it's 75. I don't know why people do 60. For 60, you might as well do 50. Like, what good is 60 going to do me? Most panels are 21 volts. I guess if you go, even those folding panels, they typically have higher voltage open circuit than rigid panels a lot of times. So I don't get 60. 60 is not appealing to me. Even with the AceFold and the Alcatel having 50 volt limits, it's low, but I get it. You can't put but 2 panels in series anyway. With 60 volts, you can't put 3 panels in series unless you're giving people a gap. You need about 75 to make a 3-panel series array work. I don't get 60. It's weird. But yeah, it does have that low voltage, which is why they have to go parallel to get that 1000 watts of solar. It's a whole thing. So the Anchor 767 is impressive, but it's not quite there for me. Now, the Anchor 757 is interesting as well because it, to me, is a competitor to that Delta Pro. And if that Anchor 757 is quiet, then I would entertain seriously buying that over a Delta Pro. But I'm not buying either. That Delta Pro sounds crazy in terms of the fan. I'm sorry, the Delta Pro, not the Delta Pro, the Delta 2. Hey, man, what's the problem? Why did I send you upstairs? Okay, so you need to stop making the whining sounds. And then you won't get sent upstairs and you won't get disciplined in any other way. It's the same thing we've been telling you, right? Okay. Yes, sir. Sure. That should be fine. So yeah, that 757 is interesting. Actually, let's take a moment to look at it. Anchor 757. This is why I say it's an interesting device related to the Ecoflow Delta 2. LifePo, 1200 watt hours of capacity, 1230 to be specific. It's only $100 more than the Delta 2's starting price. Sometimes that Delta 2 goes on sale. There was a great sale on that dip. It was like $8.99, and he was giving away like 2 100 watt panels. If I was a person who was in the market for something like that, that's something that I would have jumped on. I don't know what solar capacity is on either of those, but it's an interesting thing that if I was in the market, that's what I would start kind of comparing, kind of like I did with the Ecoflow stuff for MJ. I started to look at the solar input, how fast does it charge? Then we would have to look at voltage in that situation. But it's an interesting device. But then it's the quietness that I'm sure this Anchor, because I think they talk about the GAN here, or is it just the 767? that has that GaN technology, which is gallium something nitrate. Let's see here. Yeah, then you get with this 300 watt max stuff. It's just like, 300 watts is cool. Don't get me wrong. It's cool. 1500 watt inverter. I'm sure that Delta 2 has a better inverter. I'm almost certain it has an 1800 watt inverter. But this is the game we play, right? We look at, we compare, and we figure out what works. At least that's what I do. 5-year warranty. Yeah, I don't see the GaN stuff mentioned here. Maybe it's further down. What did that page just do? Lightning? I think this one, the 535, has a bi-directional USB-C port. I can't shake it, man. I love a good bi-directional port. Parallel connector for 3 solar panels. So yeah, it probably has a weird... Okay, here we go. Let's see if this tells me what the solar input is. It tells me 300 max, but it doesn't tell me the voltage stuff. So whatever. We'll save that for another day. And then wait, let me see what y'all talking about. I remember when I was in Christian school. That's interesting. We had to learn that verse about foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, and the pastor would walk around with a stick. Yikes. Man, I got the paddle like once in my life in elementary school. And I'm pretty sure I would never get the paddle again. And not for not acting up. It's just like, you're not hitting me with no stick again. You out of your mind. The only reason why I let it go down the first place was because the group that I was in, they was all kind of like just with it. They accepted it. But nah. I remember another situation where, especially if I wasn't violating, I ain't taking no unjust criticism, or punishment. So, hey guys, y'all can take turns watching videos on YouTube. Just make sure it's quiet. All right. We had a substitute teacher, and it was one of the teachers who was like known for being like a disciplinarian.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Is it okay for me to go first?
I don't know. Are you okay with that? Y'all okay with that?
Yeah. I'm trying to look at this time.
All right. Rock, paper, scissors. I can't DJ. Y'all got to DJ yourself. Go do it in the living room. You know how to do it. Look away. Don't cheat, because we don't want to do stuff like that. Go ahead. You want to be a part of the rock, paper, scissors? No. Okay. Well, it's between y'all. All right. He said no. Go ahead. Y'all go. Hold on. Go. Since it's only one round, I could DJ. Go ahead.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Well, JoJo goes first.
Yeah! Yes.
But yeah, hold on. What happened was the teacher stepped out. This was probably like 5th grade or 6th grade. The teacher stepped out, and he had singled out like 3 of us, and I was chilling. I've always been a person of integrity. I'll take my lick hands down. If I was wrong, I was wrong. Let me give y'all an example of how thuggish I was. A teacher would come into the room if I got caught talking, and she would try and be smart and say, well, we'll let them finish talking. And me being the Ivan that I am, I would just finish talking. It's like, don't play with me. I'll finish my conversation. You said it, and I'm going to keep it moving. But I was chilling. I wasn't a part of the shenanigans. And he had us go up to the front of the classroom, and he was like, y'all acting a ASS, so y'all make the donkey sound. Like, I ain't doing that. And my teacher, she must have understood in that moment, like, what I was made of, because he was like, yeah, he ain't saying it. And I was like, and I ain't. And she just let it go. She's like, y'all go sit down. All right, man, listen. So I say all that to say, yeah, 2%. Thanks for the deviation. I don't even mean that sarcastically. I love deviations. But oh man, me and my thuggish ways. Hey, Kimber Jack, what's happening? Turn it down, please. I'm not a big fan of power stations with low max voltage. That's for certain. And higher amps, my array is about 80 feet away, and the higher amps make me lose watt over distance. Yes, yeah, definitely. All that current going through those cables instead of volts melts cores and all that jazz. Yeah, it's a dangerous situation. My mom says, so, oh, that's what's up. I guess I have one of those spaces. All of this weird head stuff I got going on. Let's see. We need a quiet but powerful setup for a coming camping trip. No electricity, no water. Need something for the TV, laptop, and PS4. You gonna buy something just for that trip, or y'all actually in the market for a power station? Quiet. I imagine. I wonder how quiet those Pecrons are, because that dip is certainly looking capable there. That 349, taking in 400 watts of solar with the ability to give out what was it, like 1200? I don't know, with a 600 watt hour capacity. That thing is interesting. I'm really gonna give that some thought. I'm gonna try and find a contact email for Pecron to email them. Specs. I wish I had. Wish I had solar lingo. I got the paddle once in school too on the hand, and thought putting water on my hand would break the pain. Negative. I don't know nothing about that, but I hear you. Prepping for anything. What's happening? What's going on? Yeah, I'm definitely thuggish. That's for sure. Y'all, I was a mess all in school. A mess. Very, man, my gosh. I wasn't saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I ain't sing that stupid old Negro spiritual they wanted us to sing for Black History Month. Like, man, y'all crazy. I ain't doing that. Generators are loud but noisy and cumbersome. So a quiet power station to run. What you play on PS4? What y'all playing over there? Uh, what kind of solar panel? I guess so. I don't know. I really don't have a good feel, a good beat on quiet power stations, because a lot of these power stations are just loud. You could get an Ecoflow with the fan. It has the fan setting. Ecoflow River. Uh, I mean, you can't really buy those per se. I think the River Pro is still for sale. But if you had a River, that would be a good one. It's not a whole lot of capacity, but it could get the job done. Um, I don't have many mid-range power stations either. Um, Actually, the Big Blue is quiet, but it doesn't do pass-through charging. I don't even know if that thing is still for sale. So I'm not fan noise is something you have to have the product in hand to know and be able to speak of. But not all fans are like obnoxiously loud though. So, you know, I don't know. How much would you like to spend? Let me see here, because I can't see those little faces, emoticons y'all be making. Playing the two of us. Arky is a piece. PlayStation Beast. Oh, is that the game, the two of us? I've never heard of that. Interesting. And the last deal that I thought was interesting is from BougeRV. This one has been kind of going around for a while. I think Starfar may have mentioned this to me some time ago, because this power station now BougeRV, um, their power stations have never quite moved me, and not in any type of malicious way. I just sometimes, me being like really utilitarian, I'm only like really interested in stuff that I would kind of buy, and I'm very picky. So there's a lot of stuff I just wouldn't buy, and stuff that a company would send me. And I've been trying to like expand my idea of, what's what here, because I'm here. I don't mean to do that. I'm here to help inform you guys' purchases as well. So I can't be selfish in that I'm focused on only the things that kind of come to mind for me or that are being sent to me, which is why I started to dig around in the Pecrons because they were making good progress. I wanted to also become familiar with the Anchor products because I hadn't been familiar with those, and they were straight up confusing. I couldn't make sense of their lineup for a long time. But this BougeRV, when I'm pretty sure it was Sharon or Sharfar made, I saw that it was half off, and y'all know BougeRV had the EV70 clone, and then they also had like this super fast charging but small power station that was interesting, which I wasn't really interested in. I had a contact with them, and I didn't even ask for it. I wasn't interested at all. Um, but this one is interesting because it's this price is $1,200, but it has a half off coupon, and it's lithium ion, but it's lithium ion with like 1,500 cycles, which is bananas. This feels like the new danger. 1,500 plus cycles to 80%. I don't know if one believes that, but that's what they say. It's 1,100 watt hours, so it's a little bit above 50 cents a watt hour. The PV, what is that? 200 watts, so nothing crazy to write home about. Um, but it's an interesting little device to get half off on. Now, would I go with a Pecron? Maybe. I'd have to kind of look and see what their situation, if they had something similar for like $600, and if it was LFP. If it is LFP, then I would go that route instead of this. But this is all stuff to consider. But I just thought this was a good deal. I don't know what kind of connection type it uses. Let's see, charge temperature. That's interesting. So this is lithium ion, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. 0 degrees Celsius. Earlier, I talked about degrees, and I probably got that stuff wrong. I think it's not -10. It's 10 degrees Celsius for LFP up to its limit, and then lithium ion is 0 degrees Celsius. So I think I got that wrong. I'm looking at these temperatures, and this seems about right. 32 degrees to 105. User manual. Let's see what the user manual says. If it has the connector type in it. What does it say in the AV solar charging page 7? It probably will tell me the voltage, which is something that I don't think I saw. General info, input ports, solar charge 12 to 30. Yeah, we saw that. We just don't know what type of connector type is. Okay, interesting. I don't know what this is. Does anybody know what this cell chemistry is? Lithium, nickel, cobalt, magnesium? I don't know. I feel like Solar Will would know. Will Prouse. Let's see here. That's interesting to show that chemistry like that. I wonder if I could pick up on the connection type here. Okay, PV is Anderson. Nice. And then it has a 5521. I like the idea of these devices that have 5521s. That new Foxeon does not have 5521. I actually need to message my contact time here soon because it is 5 o'clock here. And I think they're like 13 hours ahead. So it's probably like 6 o'clock Monday morning for them. So I'm going to message them soon to say, like, y'all have to put a DC charger in the box because all they have in the box right now is an AC charger and the brick. It doesn't have a fancy like computer charger, which I can't say that I care about. I'm not one that charges from the wall anyway. And even with the power stations that I have that can charge that way, they typically don't get used in that way, which could be changing for me because with that particular device, if it goes in my zone 1, which it might because it's quiet, at least for now, it can take in up to 200 watts of solar. It doesn't have bi-directional charging. That's a God dog it. I wish it had that. If it had that, it would have been dope. And it also doesn't have really a way to 12-volt charge it easily. So if I ever had to power dump into it, I'd have to do it through AC only, which is not the biggest deal, but I like to be able to go DC to DC charging on a power station using a power dump to extend its runtime, not AC. But the fact that it's quiet and it can take in up to 200 watts of solar, maybe a little bit more than 200 watts, and it's 1,000 watt-hour capacity, that kind of works for me a little bit better than having the USB-C bidirectional charging. But the fact that they have no DC way to charge it, and I don't even have a connector tip that fits it. None of these fit it. Now I do have a 3 set that I bought a long time ago for computers and stuff. This was before I got into solar. That may have a tip in there that'll work. So I may try that, but I may not. I don't know. And it has Anderson, but that Anderson is purely for solar. Every time I try to charge it with Anderson, because I don't know if you know this, but amps are pulled, not pushed. So the device will try to pull as many amps as it can, as many amps as it wants or needs, and it tries to pull solar like power out of it. And it's just those DC, your 12-volt connectors are not rated for that much power, so they all die. It'll go up to like 110, 120, 130, 143. And I think the highest it went was 143. And then that kills any DC charging. So I cannot use Anderson 12 volt to Anderson. I can't use 5521 to Anderson, which I have one of those cables. I thought it would have been cool if that worked. But that Anderson is purely for pulling in all the power through solar. And the barrel connector is for AC and 12 volt. So, all right. Let's see what y'all trapping and snapping about. BougeRV is like a Blue Eddy. This one right here that was on the screen, prepping for anything? The only time, what's up, Byron? I have to look up what the two of us is. I've never heard of that. 1200. I'm a little slow in the comments. My bad. I'm waiting for the first person to come along and say that LiPo didn't have all those cycles 3 to 5 years. I feel like I'd be the closest one to do that because I use this stuff every day. What's up, Wayne? Appreciate that. I'll be sure to pass on the greetings to them. Oh, Wayne is the person, MJ, who may know a little bit about the Ecoflow 1000. I don't know. I don't know much about Ecoflow's lineup, but Wayne may be in a loop as it relates to like what it is and when it came out. Not necessarily the date, but why it doesn't have app control and some of the others do. It probably predates the app control ability and all that jazz. Cycling tours, what's happening? How are things? I have a Pecron 1000 Pro. It worked for a day, and thanks. Oh wow, it worked for a day, and thanks to Jason Noy, I got the part to fix it. What happened? Tell us about it. Jeez, how long have you had it too? You said the Pecron 1000 Pro. Do I have that one in my? Okay, this is the one that's $1,000. This one right here. I'm sorry, that's 1,000. It's 500 some odd dollars. Let's pull it up. The Pecron 1000 Pro, I'm assuming it's the E. So, oh yeah, these dips do have wireless charging on a lot of them, if not all of them. Look at that, 32 volts to 95 volts. How much solar can this thing take in? 400 watts. That's interesting. I don't know why you would need 95 volts for 400 watts. 20, 40, 60, 80. Okay, cool. So if you did 4 100-watt panels, that to me, that's very thoughtful. You know what I mean? If you have 400-watt panels, you put them all in series, 4 100-watt panels, you put them all in series, this particular thing could take it. No problem. I just think that that's really smart. I like to see that type of range in the voltage from these companies that understand what most people will do instead of forcing people to do something weird or silly. It's just strange that they work that way. Like a 60 volt input limit on the anchors. They really need to get that together. It's like, I don't know how you can take their big power stations seriously with that low voltage cap on them. It'll get the job done, but as you want to expand your particular solar array, you're very limited and you just kind of got to deal with it. That's where that Delta Pro, the AC300, even the AC200 Max, which I think takes in 900 watts of solar, I'm pretty sure it still has the 145 or 150 volt input limit. Um, I do think that it's interesting that they have this situation right here where it's a 100 watt max on their, I guess, the 5525, which makes sense, to be honest. That makes perfect sense because 5525 is a very like low amp kind of connection, but it would be nice to see like an 8 millimeter there where you could do 200 watts of solar. 12-volt panel, 200 watts should be good. Whereas, like to get to the 400, you got to put the panels in series or you have to have a bigger panel. So you got to have like a, 24-volt panel, Renogy, whatever, Jinko, whatever works for you, REC, sitting at about 40 volts, and that'll work. Okay. He should have a YouTube channel. I could put you guys in contact though, MJ. But if you have any questions, he's like an Ecoflow guy. He like what's the phrase? He's into power stations, period. But he knows a lot about the Ecoflows. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't have the 1000. This is the one it charged for a day and would not charge again. I love the unit as I have a 365 watt panel on it, and when it works well. That's bad to hear. When it works well. So what was the part? Can you tell me about that? Let's just say you use your 320 watt Renogy, which is 40 something volts. You can't use it in series with those 60-volt power stations, the bigger ones, and that's irritating highly. That's kind of what I was hinting at in I think my last live stream about the Renogy 550 watt panels. And I was talking about these 250 watt panels that it's not quite the same, but those being, let's say, a 250 watt panel in relation to my Ace Volt, right? My Ace Volt has a 50-volt input limit. I can only put one 250 there and then I'm done because there's a low voltage limit. So that's why the 250s don't really work for me. I can't put two of those in series on a lot of my power stations. My only power station that can really take that is my EB120. Ironically, right? The oldest power station I have that has a higher voltage. That one can take it. And my AC 200p. My Duran is limited to 60. My Aceville is limited to 50. My Alcatel is pretty much, or the Aceville is pretty much the Alcatel, so it's limited to 50. So even if I got a bunch of 250 watt panels, what would I do? Check this out. You would take what? 4 250 watt panels or 3 250 watt panels to replace 3 200 watt panels. And those things are huge. It's like it don't make no sense. That's why they might be $60, $75 a panel, but I don't need all of that space being taken up for such a low solar input or solar output, I should say. What's up, Buck? You can't plug a solar panel in that top plug of the Pecron. It's 18 volts max. Very interesting. Why does it say that then? Like, look at the page here. Right here, it says PV input, 12 volts to 18 volts, 100 watt max. But I hear you. That's a good cautionary. That's a good cautionary tale for this situation because most panels that open circuit voltage is like 21. You might be able to find. Yeah, that's interesting. There you go. Good catch, Buck. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know what to make of that. That's very interesting. It makes me think about the I could be wrong. It makes me think about the Dr. Prepare Max joint that has that little DC module on it. that one has a very interesting voltage range for its device, unless the device basically doesn't allow the open circuit voltage in. The MPPT charge controller does a good job of regulating it down. That's the only way I could see that working. But you could see it on the screen. They say that the PV input is 12 to 18 volts, 100 watts max, or 32 to 95, 400 watts max. Interesting. Very interesting. Um, there is a benefit to it though. Unless you buy big panels used locally, you can't buy just a couple big ones online unless you get a pallet. This is true. Renogy and SunPower is the exception, and they are, well, the Renogy ones are expensive. You save on shipping with smaller panels, but a lot more work is involved. I don't think you save. Do you really? I guess so. The bigger panels are cheaper, but you have to go up in number. That's a good point. You can plug a panel in as Pecron is sending me a 100-watt panel. Right. Well, it makes sense that you could, but I get it. Just the laws of voltage open circuit. It's like, yeah, you don't want to throw a 21-volt panel onto a port that tells you it maxes out at 18 volts. But because they have it saying that it's a PV input, I'm just hoping that their charge controller regulates it down. Like basically they have over voltage protection. For example, the what's it called? The Go Labs R300 has a very interesting voltage range. And what happens is when you plug in a panel, and let's say it's cool and the amps or whatever is higher than amps or volts, it's higher than what it can take. It errors out, but it charges. It starts to beep at you, but it does charge. It throws up an error and all that, but it just the panel just kind of. I think the device just like yeah, we don't like that, but we gonna use it. We'll adjust it appropriately. I looked up the specs and know about it. Not supporting an app. I can't. I believe it cannot be expanded. I would doubt it can be expanded as well. Let's see here. All right, cool. Quick update on some other stuff. I went and I visited one of my cousins because I got that chainsaw, and I was like, "Yo, can you help me put the chainsaw together?" He's had at least two chainsaws, to my knowledge, so he got 2 times more experience than I do. And he was like, "Yeah, come through." So we got together, I think like yesterday, or the day before, and we was able to throw the chain on it and attach it for me and all that jazz, put the oil in it. Um, and I let him know from the go, like, look, listen, we got a chainsaw, my man. And so if you want to use it, just let me know. It's all good. That's kind of, just how I am as it relates to community stuff. He just so happens to be family. Um, so that's together. I will be probably cutting down those trees soon. If I don't do all of them, I'm an incrementalist. I may not cut them all down at the same time because we do need to do something with the tree once it's cut down. So I may cut one down, just kind of get a feel for it. That back one, which seems like the lightest weight one. And then I'll probably maybe delimit with an axe. I have a super dull axe from that same cousin from when we was doing some stuff with a stump in our front yard. And then I may just cut it up into small little chunks. I don't have no reason to use the wood. So, and I don't even know how that will work. I don't know nothing about storing wood or anything like that. So I'll probably just throw it away little by little. I know that seems kind of like sacrilege to some preppers to get rid of wood, but I don't know what to do with it. So, and then um, my situation today is a sunny day. Thank God for that. And right now, because I charged up, this is at 79%, giving out 100 and hold on one second. I'll be back, guys. I'm still here. I just need to check on what's going on in my back porch. If it's worth it to throw my panel up to get more sun, and no, it is not. My back porch is completely shaded, so that won't work. Because given it's charging out, I say all of that to say what I've been doing lately is trying to kind of continue to find synergy in my setup. So it's like, okay, I have two 200-watt panels on the Ace Volt now. Remember, I was saying that should produce about 2 kilowatts of power if they're in sun for an average of 5 hours a day, maybe a little bit more. Now, what I'm getting at here is yesterday, remember I told you the weather was kind of crazy, so I had put some power into it, and I think I actually stopped it at 50%. I didn't do the full 100. So this Ace Volt got full really quickly today. So right now what I have charging on it is the Gulu, which is done charging, I think. Yes, at 100%. And now it's charging the Smartless, dual charging it via USB-C at 60, and its weirdo connection port that I actually just have an adapter for from 5521 to whatever its connection type is. It's actually this one right here, this yellow one. Let me see if I could. My focus is here. This yellow one is the one that charges the Smartless. So I have it going 5521 to whatever that adapter is. Now, the Ace Volt did get full, so that's why I'm power dumping into that. That's 100, 200 some odd watts a piece. And I went out on the back porch because I see it's still giving that 179, which I might as well stop because I got space for the 10 watts that is pulling in to come through. But my Foxtion is in the front door zone. That one's probably hovering. It's probably full now. It's the one that's using my two 100-watt Renogy panels in parallel, the black division and the normal folding or flexible joint. In my TV zone right now, what I actually have, interestingly enough, I put the short out today about the Ecoflow being demoted. It's somewhat temporary. I still use it, but it's not even on solar right now. My OG River is on solar, and it has been charging. It charged up fully my Go Labs. I only have one Go Labs. I gave the other one away to Nathan. It charged up my Go Labs fully. It was charging up my Sateki 500, and I was throwing some power into it. I was throwing some power into the Delta, the Ecoflow River Max 2, because yesterday I filled it up throughout the night because it's one of the ones that I'm going to start filling up whenever I think we may lose power. And that's just a preparedness practice. It's like I don't ever want to be in a situation where, one, I use my system so much that I'll drain things down to whatever, 10%, 11%, zero, just depends on what device it is. I don't want to be caught without having power. So as the summer goes on, 2 Sundays in a row, I'm swimming in power. So I just kind of have to adjust to that. But I think I'm finding this level of synergy here. But the new River 2 Max, it wasn't on solar all day today because it was full for the most part. So I actually took my OG River from the front door, which is where the Foxtion is, and I put it on the MC4 connector. Again, this is my idea about I want to have interchangeability in my power stations. So that one is just sitting on top of the OG River. The River is still powering the internet. It'll get about 14 hours out of that. And then here's another thing. The OG River, quiet, whisper quiet. The freaking Ecoflow River Max 2, that thing is really interesting to me, man, that it makes so much noise. I wish Ecoflow would release this firmware update that they were working on like 2 months ago, like a few weeks after they released the product, to adjust this fan noise. I think the thread is just going quiet. I'm sure I have that thread saved. Let me see if I can find it. Let's go back to the, Book of Faces. River 2 Max new firmware not yet installed. Not yet installed. Fan noise not mentioned. That don't sound like it. Oh no. This was the guy talking about he updated the firmware and then there's no mention of the fan noise stuff. Um I shouldn't. Okay. No, that ain't it. Son of a blues player. I'm pretty sure I saved this thing. There was a post in the group about uh, people who will be willing to test the firmware. I wonder if they deleted it. I don't know. Interesting. Well, that's sad. What's up, family man? I'm cooling, man. Just about to wrap this thing up in a second. Just giving an update about how my systems are going. My my EB120 is approaching full. That one, for the most part, what I use that for these days, which is kind of sad, I use it as a power dump into my, again, back to this River Max 2 situation. I use it as a power dump to go into my River Max 2 because it has a native 45-watt port. So the 45 watts keeps it relatively quiet. It does have the fan blare up from time to time for no rhyme or reason because it don't be hot in here, but whatever. So I use that for that. I kind of felt bad because it has a capable invert at 1,000 watts. Not super capable, but I like running my vacuum off of it. So it's just like, man, I've just I've reduced that thing to being a power dump for my River Max because the River 2 Max fan is so freaking loud. But yeah, um, that one is probably full right now, which is a good look. I also use it to power my kids' gaming zone. And then my EB70 typically goes outside on the two Renogy Rock Pals panels. I have this company that may be sending me a 200-watt panel, the Alaska joint, where it's like Alaska with an R in the for the second A. Um, I like the form factor on that dip. That one is probably going to be the one that goes into the EB120. And then my All Powers 200-watt folding panel will probably replace the two Rock Pals panels. And maybe I'll sell one of those panels. I got one set for free, and then I got a really good deal on the second one with the device. I still need to put that video out. I'm just kind of swimming in content that doesn't quite measure up to my standard of what content is. So it kind of sits idle, or I'll put it on the Patreon for folks that just like really love solar and want to support the channel. That's like a perk that you get. You get to see some videos that don't really, they wouldn't captivate the masses, but for like hardcore solar folks, they would enjoy the video. So it's like, okay, well, I'll put that on the Patreon joint. Let's see. Okay, so you have a 11 to 1,200 bucks, and you want it to be relatively quiet. But in the grand scheme of things, nothing is as loud as a generator, so you be winning either way. If you decide to get rid of the rear, I would buy it. No, they gonna exchange it. I got it for a good deal, so it's almost not worth trying to ship it to you or anything like that. Because I want the device. So here's what's going on. Let me read the rest of your comment, so you don't have to deal with the fan noise. What's going to happen with it is if, as my, hold on, I'm watching these kids. What are y'all watching? I'm sorry, what?
It's about protecting themselves from dinosaurs.
So shooting dinosaurs. Yeah, I feel like I don't know how I feel about that. Find something else. Um, the River 2. So what's going to happen to it is, one thing, it can charge very well from solar. A 200-watt panel is a very good companion for it. So it's still useful. it could easily replace, it could easily push out my OG river from being at the door. That's where, if this Foxeon kind of works out, that's where it'll probably end up. The fan noise out in the foyer is a little more tolerable than actually in the living room. I could be completely wrong with that because that fan noise is right there by the door of the couch. So it probably will suck over there as well. um, but I do like the fact that it is a quick charge device. This is what that means for me. So let's say right now, what happens in for my kid, my youngest, that's a Samsung 24-inch monitor. He typically either watches YouTube on that or sometimes we play a game on that. Most times we play a game on the folding monitor. But what I've been using is the EB I always want to call it Energizer P320, the EB3A. I typically use the Energizer P321 because I could get 100 watts into it relatively quickly. But imagine, we didn't have a good solar day, but not having a good solar day on the top floor is different down in the basement because the basement has all of those big arrays. So over the course of the day of getting like 10 to 20% of solar output, those devices typically have decent power in them. And I could just yank that power right out of the AC200P, the Duran, the EB120, or the Alcatel, and throw that quickly into the River Max 2. So it has a place here, especially for what I paid for. I think I got that and the 100-watt panel for $370. So it's almost not worth parting with it. So I do need to contact them about it because I need to have it exchanged. So that's another reason why I'm toying around with the idea of the OG River being over there in my zone 1 or the Foxeon being over there in my zone 1. Now the Foxeon, I have to test that one and use it, so it can't be like permanently placed right now. So there's that. So the River is going to have to hold it down. Or the EB3A could go there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm supposed to have a lithium ion power station coming soon from this company called GoPort. That's going to be interesting. Lithium ion is, it's not as appealing, but I'm coming around to its usefulness. Like I said earlier. All right. Well, thank you. Solar Independent Utility Systems Manual. My man is over there off the grid, just crushing it. Contribute to the broken solar panel you got. I only buy new ones for this reason. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ordered the All Powers 400-watt folding panel and just realized it's poly. Oh, boom, 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 boom. Let me tell you something, though. Let me tell you something. I'm hammering that All Powers 200-watt panel on purpose. I literally do not bring that thing inside and it's still working just fine. Now, I don't know if the output is as good as it used to be, but it's still working and I'm hammering it on purpose. What I need to do is I'm going to do a follow-up video on it and I'm going to wipe the panels down just to make sure that the dirt that has accumulated on it doesn't look dirty, but I want to give it a fair shot of seeing how much power it's going to produce compared to my 200-watt arrays or my 200-watt Renogy panel. Or no, is that a Renogy? No. My 200-watt BougeRV panel. So I've been kind of gauging it, but I haven't been paying super close attention, but I need to be intentional about that. It's been fine. I've had that thing I feel like it's been at least a year. I think I got that thing last summer. The All Powers 200-watt. I need to finish up this Alicanta video. Let me see if my daughter's awake. I need to finish up the Alicanta video. They have some big panels that I'm interested in. I hope the video does well so that they can continue working with me. They sent me a 120. They have a 200 and a 400. And they're on good sales too. And I was just like, why didn't y'all send me that one? That would have been clutch. But, it is what it is. 7,000 subs. I can't demand too much. I did reach out to this oddly enough, I reached out to All Powers and I asked them about that R600 because I really like that device. We were talking about it last live. That dip, somebody was saying that it had 30 volts, but it's actually 60 volts of power you can put into that little 300 watt hour device, which gives it a good leg up on the EB3A and the Ecoflow River series. So I'm really compelled. I'm really intrigued. Hopefully they actually mail it out to me. Um, I don't count my chickens before they hatch. So until it arrives on my doorstep, it's not real to me. My wife was like, "Whoa, how did you? Who let you down? Or how did you develop that idea?" And I was like, "I don't know, but it's not real to me till I have it. It's fine to anticipate it and all that jazz, but I try not to get my hopes up about that stuff." Um, that little thing is interesting. 300 watt hours is, it's not crazy, but think about it like this. For the same reason that I was talking about the River 2 Max kind of being a situation that could power my kids' gaming session, that would be a good look. That will also be a good look for powering their fan through over the night. Even though I don't need 500 watt hours for the fan typically uses about 25 watts an hour, which comes out to about 250, maybe a little bit more than that over the course of like 10 to 12 hours. But I could use that Ecoflow River for that as well. The fan noise wouldn't be an issue because it's powering a fan. So I just like the idea of having these power stations that I could quickly put power into so that I could deploy them around the house. That's something that I've been doing a lot lately. Throwing a power station up on a lamp, a couple lamps, a fan. Summertime is coming, so fan use is going to kind of go up in our house. AC use is going to go up in our house as well. So all of this synergy I'm finding with these power stations, the power coming in, kind of maxing them out and having the power dump will probably not be a thing, especially in this zone, because I'm going to try to run the AC off of it as much as I can. And we don't need, as I've said many times, we don't need the air to run long. I even started to use the timer on the air conditioners more frequently. I didn't always succeed at it, but sometimes I just throw it on for an hour just to knock the heat off of this area and kind of keep it moving. So I think that's going to be a good look. The one that we put in the window is a 10,000 BTU. I learned from Minuteman Prep that typically your BTUs, 10% of that, or whatever he said, is about how much power you will use from a power source. So it'll be about 1,000 watts. And that should be fine. Just think I got a 2K watt hour capacity, probably like 1,600 realistically. That could run that for about an hour. And then you have solar kind of coming in with it. I have 400 watts of solar. I get about 250, 750 against 1,500 watt hours. It's about 2 hours of air conditioning. That's a good look. It's not a good look for this zone, but it can still work. I'll figure it out. Yeah, we see what y'all trapping and snapping about. What's up, some more? Okay, good live today, but I have to leave. Thanks for hanging out, Armand. I appreciate you, sir. Dude, don't worry about polycrystalline versus monocrystalline. My poly panels outperform them. Yeah, are you talking about glass though? Oh, did you mean poly or PET? Come on, mouse, start working, Wayne. I mean, did you mean the panels are poly? Yeah, I don't know that I care about a folding panel. Wait, you say you ordered the 400 watt um all powers panel folding and you found out it's polycrystalline. In my brain, I thought you were saying PET. Okay, can you see if All Powers can send you a 400 watt folding solar panel and make a video? I don't think they value my channel enough to do that. Um, I don't think so. They have 340 watt air conditioners. Expound on that a bit. Are they just really efficient air conditioners? Or are they just really small air conditioners? Because this 10,000 BTU dip is basically, it cools this room and we fan that air over into the living room. because we don't have windows in our living room that could accommodate an air conditioner. So we just have to make it work. So we cool this area. We actually used to have a curtain up here to separate the kitchen from this area so that, we didn't have heat, but I think maybe the kids pulled it down or something like that. This was like a couple years ago, when they were real little. But we pushed that fan. So 340 watts may not be super helpful to me. Actually, Will, on a video I was watching, I don't think it was a recent video, but he was talking about how they're like mini split window units or heat pump air conditioner window units. I thought that was interesting. I didn't bother researching it, but that stuff seems compelling. You know what's interesting in that regard? We literally do things it seems to be that we do things in the most inefficient way possible. Just recently, when these EVs started coming out, I had learned that this was about a year and a half ago. I learned that ICE or ICE engines, cars, which is internal combustible engine or whatever, um, they only use 30% of the power. The other like 70% is lost just in the process of like the engine doing what it needs to do and heat and all of that jazz. That's just mind boggling to me. I mean, I get it, but um, then you look at an EV. EVs typically use about a third of the cost to run compared to an ICE car. It's just like, man, what would we be doing? And then these air conditioners with these freaking compressors, they don't have the saw start built in, so we need to have all of this power to get them going. It's just like, man, I just wish we were more forward thinking about some of this stuff that we do, but we don't seem to be. Yeah, that's that. But 5,000 BTU, which on average would be about 500 watts, but realistically they use about 340. That's a good look, but that would be like a room air conditioner for like my kids or something like that, which would be cool. I don't even know what my kids' ACs use these days. I think they may have like a 5,000 and we may have an 8,000 for our bedroom. The sad thing about our bedroom is our bedroom doesn't have a window we can put an air conditioner in. So we have to put the air conditioner in the closet, and then we have to fan the air out of the closet into the room, which can be a pain sometimes. Just in terms of how the room takes a long while to get cool. And I don't know why. I haven't quite cracked that cookie yet. Like, do I need to put an exhaust fan in another window to pull that hot air out? I've tried putting the fan like lower on the ground. I've tried putting it higher, as high as I can get it in front of directly the air conditioner air. It doesn't work out well for some reason. It'll get the room cool. It's definitely better than not having an AC at all, but it just takes a long time. And by long, I mean like my wife, she'll try and put the air conditioner on like maybe 2 hours before we kind of typically go to bed. And even sometimes we walk in there and it's just like, it's just okay. We can sleep without being super hot. So that works out, but it doesn't work out well. Try to switch to induction cooking in the kitchen to reduce the heat, and you can use induction with certain power stations too. That's interesting. I appreciate that, Green. I've really grown to like your channel. That's an interesting thing to say, but I get what you mean. But feel free to elaborate. You are a mirror image of me 2 years ago. Oh, okay, nice. So you're just in the solar hustle and you're deeper than I am at a game. I dig it. I dig it 100%. Hey, Annette, what's happening? Thank you. I appreciate the encouragement and watching and stuff like that. I appreciate it greatly. What I may do is see if you can another of those 100 amp hour LiPo batteries hooked in parallel to the one you have, and they would take in 1,000 watts of power to run the air conditioner. I kind of get the gist of what you're saying. Can you elaborate a little more? It's like any power I use from the sun is a good day. Um, but it's like as soon as I find synergy, then I'll get like another power station or another load that will enter the fray and kind of cause me to shift again. And I love it. I'll be honest. I could do this stuff all day. In some instances, I do mess around with it all day. I don't even know what my power situation is. I know I got two panels out there right now that still have sun on them. I'm excited to cut those trees down, but it's not going to be as quick a turnaround on that because once I cut the trees down, then we have to like de-stump this. We have to get the stumps out. The last tree we pulled out, my neighbor actually helped my wife pull it out with his truck, and it tore the retaining wall down. And she actually just put it back together. Um, I don't know where. I think I was at work or something, or I was working when she was doing it. Um, and that was, she put it back together. It was good money. So I don't know what's going to happen with this joint being on the fence. But I'm glad I got the chainsaw because once I get the dirt and all of that, we clear all that out. We have a couple hand saws, and if we went into something difficult, I don't have to borrow my neighbor's reciprocating saw, which was a pain because I think the blade was dull. And maybe the handle on it was a little weird to grab. So it was kind of dangerous. I made sure I was very careful with that thing because I'm not a big tools guy. Um, but I look forward to cutting those trees down. And I'm not quite in a situation where I want to put panels up there yet. But that is the last kind of area of my backyard that gets sun. So that's pretty cool. So I'll be able to throw panels up there to get that last little bit of sun and not be encumbered by my neighbor's house or my house's shadow. I like the FF Power Station for their fast charging. Yeah, FF Power, Alcatel, Ace Volt. There's some other ones out there that the what FosseBot. That's like an updated version of the same power station. Don't quote me on that. It just looks the same with some snazzier, has like a dial on it that allows you to adjust the charging rate, which is interesting. Enora has one. A couple of people have that little style of power station. I think Alcatel is the company that manufactures it, or they're the ones that do something to give it out to the other people to sell. A couple of people reached out to me about similar power stations like that to see if I would do a video on them, but I think they were just fishing and it never quite panned out. That's why my road to 10,000 subs is so important, and we're getting there slowly but surely. I got a plan, and I'm working my plan. I know wind power is frowned upon, but have you ever thought about it? Never. Um, yeah, I feel like once Will was like, yeah, wind power is not worth it. You could just buy another solar panel or whatever for how cheap solar panels are. And it was a moving part, and I don't like moving parts. I don't like solar trackers or anything like that. I'm just not that committed to having something that needs to be maintenance. Um, but Setai's Tech Adventures, he's kind of like entertaining the idea of wind power. So I kind of learned some things via like chatting with him about it. Uh, in terms of how much power it can produce and all that jazz, but I would never get into it. You got to mount that stuff up pretty high for consistent wind in most like city spaces. I don't know if that applies to rural areas where the wind can kind of come through pretty low. I still think you got to get them pretty high. But what do I know? Um, do you guys have any questions? People may laugh, but you are the only one evolving and learning. My boys have learned so much through my journey. We are learning through your videos. We can all look back in 5 years and laugh at this. Yeah, I wonder what this situation is going to be like in, like even like 2 years from now. I appreciate that, man. I do. I'm glad I'm able to make the kind of content that I make. Um, because as I always say, it was content I couldn't find. Um, so it's really important to me to have this outlet and it's fun too. I love it, and I get free stuff in the because of it, which is cool. And I get to help you guys. I appreciate that. So it's like my thing is like using these power stations allows me to find and figure out and like, oh, okay, this could work. This could work. Or what about this? I actually thought about returning my little I bought a little like tent, small tent kind of thing to put my power stations in. And I need to do a video for it. But what I've been doing lately is I just take these little plastic bins from like Walmart and I turn them on the side and I put the power station in there. And I think what's going to happen throughout the summer, because when I had the trash can idea, which is still a good idea, my trash can is just very narrow. Um, the black, what I said in the video is like, I don't know about shade in the summer, but it's doing pretty good with it for now. It gives it a little bit of protection. And what I was getting at was like if I get caught off guard by a rainstorm or something like that. Like yesterday, it was raining while the sun was out. Uh, the wind was so crazy that was blowing the rain from a cloud. There was no clouds overhead. It was spectacular. Um, that just buys me a couple moments to get out there to get the power station and get it out of the rain. I don't make that mistake often. I have left power stations out in the rain once or twice, that's for sure, but I don't make that mistake often. So I've been just using the little totes on the side. And I think that's going to work out well because the main thing you want to do is keep it out of the sun. The heat of the summer is not a big deal. I mean, it never gets above like 100 whatever Fahrenheit for me here where I am. But even if it does, we saw some of those temperature ranges. They go up to like one. Let me not, excuse me, let me not guess. Let me just find out. I don't know who showed the temperature range or where did it come from. Let me see. It's probably in somebody's booklet. Dang it. I hate that I have to look for this. Son of a blues player. Okay, we have discharge temperature. Charge temperature 0 to 40 degrees Celsius. So that's actually not great. 104 degrees, that's a real thing. But if you keep your stuff in the shade, even if it's hot out, they have fans for a reason to keep that air moving. I don't know, some people in some climates that are super hot. So you got to do what you got to do out here in these streets. But I don't know. I don't have like crazy temperatures here. So I think that those totes are going to work well this summer because even when the sun has been like strong or potent here, the temperature hasn't been too hot, but the device has been super cool because it's out of the sun. That's really in most of these climates, you just need to keep it in the shade. A lot of people, for example, no matter how hot it is, if you could get the power station just behind your panel to where that little bit of shade gets cast on it, then your power station is typically cool. I'm gonna do at least a couple shorts on it. I may not do full-fledged videos on it, but I'll do a couple shorts on temperature throughout the summer months just to kind of enlighten in that regard. So I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about sending that little tent back because I don't really use it. But then I thought about, well, it's good to have a portable option for shade. Like if we ever go to the beach or anything, which we do quite often during the summer months, I'd have something to throw the power station in if I took one to the beach, which I have traveled with a power station before. I usually travel with that little flex solar joint, the 60-watt folding panel. I have a 40-watt version of that I never did the video. Slack on my part, that's for sure. But I could never get back in touch with the rep who contacted me. I may have had a question about something or whatever, and the email bounced. But that could have been my fault, to be honest. But those people who work in those marketing departments, they tend to bounce around, or rather, they don't work there long, I should say. Some people have been around for a minute. Others, you hit them up and then the email comes back. I meant because you have that 100 amp hour battery that takes 50 amps charge. I think you say, yeah, just about. Some of them have a 100 amp capable, but my charger is only 20 amps. Two of those batteries could do 100 amps which is like 1200 watts. So you could run an air conditioner nonstop with 6. Oh yeah, that's DIY logic, and I don't really get into that too much. I'm more of a, like, if I went any route, it would be all in one, like MPP, EG4, or something like that. That's the way that I would go. Um, I don't know about this idea of batteries and then wiring them together, because, for example, I use all three of those batteries I have separately. The two Dr. Prepares could be put in parallel in theory, but they'd almost have to stay where they are, because I wouldn't carry two batteries in parallel. I have power stations with handles and stuff. So there's really no reason for me to endeavor to do too much with my batteries outside of like an experiment, or if I have like a stationary system. And I deploy those batteries from time to time. They definitely come up into my zone one to supplement the power coming out of my power stations. I use a ringlet to 12-volt adapter on one of my batteries. I have it kind of permanently installed, and I'll just throw a 45-watt one of these in it, and that's what dumps power into my Ecoflow River Max 2, which is what really kind of disturbs me about the Foxeon not having any. I'm going to message them and say, y'all need to put like a 12-volt joint in there. They don't have any other way to charge it. They didn't even put the solar cable in there, which is a ding, but it's understandable. It's not understandable. It's not shocking. So that one, I can't really power dump anything into it unless it's AC, which I still can do because the device maxes out at 200 watts charging. It's like 225 from the AC, and after the conversion is typically about 200 watts. I have a 300-watt inverter, so I could easily pop that on a battery and be able to use that to power dump into the Foxeon at the 1000 watt hours. But if I could get that Foxeon full during the day, which should not be a problem with a 200-watt panel, let's think about that for a second. One about 1000 watt hours. Even with my internet on there, it could probably run my internet for 2 days. Because even though the Ecoflow only runs it for about 14 hours, 15 hours, it's that their inverter is really inefficient. It's like 73%, I believe. I don't think they made it any better. So you lose something there. It's not like 80% or 85% like some other power stations. For example, my Bullbat, when I put the internet on there, it's a 500 some odd watt hour power station. It will last for 21 hours or 22. Now I don't know. I think I did actually tap it, like time it, but the Foxeon being a 1000 watt hour device, if the Bullbat can do 20 hours, let's just underestimate it a little bit, then the Foxeon with just the internet only, the 20-watt load, it should be able to do like 40 hours. That's enough to make it through the day or the night to the next morning to actually get solar in. And even if it's a bright overcast day or a not so bright overcast day, I'll typically get about 10, 15, 20 watts from a solar panel that's just out there thugging. So during the day, it wouldn't even be using really all that much power from its battery bank. So if it could last 40 hours and I could get 20 watts during the day, and it only used 10 hours or 12 hours over the night, you know what I mean? That's a good situation. That's why me having that 200 some odd watt hour over there in that zone was not ideal. That's why I ended up trying to buy the battery. It was on sale. One of my viewers contributed to me grabbing that, which I appreciate greatly. I got the Max, the OG with the extra battery, but the battery capacity wasn't holding up. So I had to return it. And then now what I have over there is 500 watt hours, but the AC inverter is not as efficient. So I'm not getting as much as I can get. Now, if I ran the internet and the TV, which is about 60 watts against 1000 watt hours, let's just not account for inefficiency. Divided by 60. Let's see how long that will last. We'll call that 16. The math says 16 hours. So let's just call that like 14 hours. So that's a good look. Being able to run my TV and internet for more than 10, 12 hours. And then we don't watch a whole lot of TV. My wife and I in the night watching TV. We may watch like a show or two, maybe three if something is really good. What kind of shows are y'all watching these days? Quick deviation. My wife was watching the Night Watch or whatever. That was good. Um, I had to bail out and I went and I watched the last episode just to kind of see how things ended. Because the girl, I don't know why these women in these shows just can't trust that you're in danger and you should trust the person who has saved you like 6 times. I don't know why that's so hard to comprehend. But then I just get like, yes, these writers. That was cool. We watched like East New York. Um, Will Trent is pretty cool. Uh, and some of our staples, we watched like The Rookie and what's the Tom Selleck show? The Blue Bloods. We watched that a lot. Uh, yeah, but anyway, we watched like a few episodes and something's really good. We may watch like three or so. So there's not a whole lot of TV time going on in that evening. So I think the 1000 watt hours in that zone is going to be good. And I love the footprint of that device. It has some shortcomings that's going to be cool to talk about in a video. And I look forward to giving them feedback before I make the video because hopefully they can make the device a little bit better before they send it out to you guys. Like include the solar and 12-volt cables and tell me what port size that is because that's ridiculous. Anywho, thanks, NJ. I appreciate it. What are my thoughts on the AC60? That's a good question. I don't know much about you. How old are you? Married, kids, passing on your wisdom to others. I am married. We have kids. Um, I'll be 40, maybe. I don't keep up with my birthday. I don't really care. Um, when you say passing on my wisdom to others, you mean as it relates to kids? I hope. So let's see, 105 degrees, OLED battery solars can take the heat a little bit better. Okay, cool. I've heard that before actually. What power station takes the most solar input that you have? That's the AC200P, hands down. Easy. It can take in 700 watts of solar, and that ain't even a lot. It's a lot when you have to think about putting those panels together. Like we look at specs and think about numbers as like, oh yeah, 1600 watts, but you you gotta buy 1600 watts of solar. It's like, and that's kind of somewhat easy to come by, but that's you spend $2,000 on a power station, 1500 on a power station. You got to spend about that much on solar, especially if you're gonna have them shipped and you don't have nobody selling them locally. And you're gonna spend more than that if you're buying panels a la carte from like Amazon, like $200 a pop, 170 a pop for a 200-watt panel, $100 a pop, $80 a pop for a 100-watt panel. Um, so AC200P is the beastiest one I have. Uh, Actually, Jason Oy did a video on like an Ecoflow joint that had bi-directional charging, I believe. Or was it the Anchor? I love bi-directional charging, man, because none of my power stations use a whole lot of power. We don't power like our microwave or we can't power the stove or anything like that. I mean, almost everything in this house outside of the microwave, the dryer, and maybe the hot water heater. Um, Most of our loads are about 100 watts. Refrigerator, probably about 100 watts. I've never pulled it off the wall. I want to put it off the wall soon. About 100 watts. Our whole zone one entertainment, lamp, TV, and internet, that's 70 watts. Um, we don't really have TVs in our rooms. We don't have like cable boxes. We use Roku's. I have the USB stick Roku's on purpose, or I buy TCL TVs that have it built in. This particular zone probably uses maybe about 60 watts. When the computer is full, it's maybe about 40. I actually just started using my monitor a little bit more during the day because I have double the solar that I'm used to on here. So I feel like why not have three screens? Why not? I got the power coming in. So I'll have basically 200 watts going into the power station, and then I'll be getting like an extra 60, and that 60 essentially powers my work, my job, me being productive over here. What else? We got the deep freezer downstairs, about 100 watts. Outside of the surge, the mini fridge, about 100 watts. That's it. Um, we don't have a whole lot of stuff in our home. Couple Xboxes, they use about 60 watts a pop. The TVs that my kids play on, TCL 32 inches, they use about 20 watts. So that's not a whole lot either. So, being able to power dump 100 watts into a power station that's running an 80-watt load, 100-watt load to allow that to last longer, that's perfect for me. I have, look, listen, and there better not be a power station that comes out and has two bidirectional ports. Actually, I wish that Anchor 767 had a bidirectional port or two, because it has three 100-watt ports on it. It also has two 12-volt ports, which is cool. I don't like 12-volt ports because they're prone to being janky. That whole system is just prone to being janky. But it has two of them. That's pretty cool, especially if you think about power dumping into other power stations, or powering your fridge and power dumping into a power station. Man, bro, let's go. If you're still around, we're gonna have to talk, man, about what your next power station is gonna be. It's interesting to think about traveling with one, because you may want to go lithium ion with 1,000 cycles instead of LiFePo, which will be a little heavier. Maybe. That's what I'm saying, man. Lithium ion, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Uh, 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 all right. All right, beautiful people. I'm going to get on out of here and just get the day kind of going. My wife is actually not around. She had like a little lunch kind of thing with some folks. Kiddos are enjoying a little screen time early, so we'll probably just hang out. Hey, look, y'all be beautiful. Set Tight told me to let the lives linger just a little bit before I end it, so I'll do that. His comment would get stuck if I ended it like abruptly. So deuces. See here.